Let's get some more analysis then on the situation in Lebanon. Randa Slim is with me as well. She's the Middle East Programme Director at the Stimson Centre in Washington, D.C. Hello to you and thanks for speaking to us here on France 24.
Hello, thank you very much for having me on.
Let me ask you, first of all, to expand a little bit on what we were hearing there from our correspondent. These claims by Israel that the targets yesterday were Hezbollah sites. To your knowledge, is there any evidence of that? Who was targeted and who's been hit?
There's no evidence. In fact, the areas that were hit yesterday, the majority of them are, in fact, opponents of Hezbollah and not supporters of Hezbollah. And so the claim that the Israelis basically made does not hold water. And most of the people who were killed were not Hezbollah operatives. The majority were civilians, mostly children and women. This was rush hours. People were killed in their cars. Children were maybe in their apartments and the buildings fell on them. And there are now, in one hospital alone, there are 95 unidentified bodies. Why? Because most of the cases, the whole family was killed because they were in their apartment having lunch or having early dinner, whatever. So and the list of Hezbollah officials, which were released by Hezbollah yesterday as having been killed during these strikes, were definitely not the first or even second tier levels of leadership. So the fact that they were targeting leaders of Hezbollah, again, is not proven by evidence.
Yeah, and given that, what is reaction now likely to be among the Lebanese people who, of course, have endured so much over the past few years? Do you think that we will now see a populace turning more towards Hezbollah, or will there be those who say, actually, look, we really need to disarm the group and it's time for real change?
Look, I think yesterday was really an inflection point for the Lebanese population. I've been this morning spending the time talking with people on the ground, and everybody is still in shock, trying to recover from the barbarism that they have seen inflicted on their countries yesterday. I think, look, Hezbollah has lost a lot of popularities when it decided to to join the war with Iran, and most people, most Lebanese, including Shia supporters of Hezbollah, say that this was not warranted. Lebanon was still reeling from the effect of the last war that Hezbollah dragged the country in, and so there was already a lot of divides growing inside the Lebanese population against Hezbollah. But yesterday attack reminded Lebanese that Israel is their enemy as well, and so and that will help Hezbollah's narrative in regaining some traction, that basically they are there to defend them against this kind of indiscriminate violence. Now, whether Hezbollah can do that in the future, I don't know. Time will tell. But at least the narrative will be able to regain some traction, again, because of Israeli behavior and Israeli indiscriminate attacks that mostly targeting civilians all over the country.
And what's your analysis as to what happens now in Lebanon in the very short term? Because just as we were coming on air within the last half an hour or so, Israel has issued new evacuation warnings for the southern suburbs of Beirut, telling more civilians to leave. We've had strikes on the south of Lebanon earlier on today. So do you think, look, we're just going to see more Israeli attacks on the country until Donald Trump picks up the phone and says to Benjamin Netanyahu, OK, that's enough now?
That's exactly it, because from the beginning, from the first day that Hezbollah, joined Iran in this war, there was definitely a deal or an understanding between Donald Trump and the Israeli Prime Minister that basically Israel has, as far as the United States is concerned, they have carte blanche in going after Hezbollah. And in few of the pressers, Trump referred to, we have a small problem, Hezbollah, and the Israelis will take care of it. And so that's still the understand. That's still how Donald Trump looks at it. And Vance, Vice President Vance's statement yesterday that, Lebanon is not included in the ceasefire understanding, in a way reinforces this feeling that Lebanon is not a priority for the United States right now. Israel is taking care of it. It has been outsourced to Israel. At some point, and I don't see yet that kind of pressure building up on the Trump administration. At some point, Lebanon will rise in priorities on Trump administration priority list. I don't see that we are there yet. And that's when, in my opinion, Trump will pick up the phone and basically tell Bibi Netanyahu, it's time to stop. But when this will happen, what kind of trigger will push Trump to do that? It's not clear yet to me, and we don't know what's going to make it. Is it the negotiations with Iran? Is it basically, Iran saying we are not going to go forward without a ceasefire in Lebanon? But at the same time, I don't see the Iranians willing to go to the mat for Hezbollah. And so we'll see when this happens.
Just a final thought from you, if I may. Do you think these attacks on Lebanon yesterday have sort of fatally undermined or torpedoed the broader Iranian ceasefire, or do you think that will sort of limp on?
I really think is going to limp on, because both parties to the ceasefire, primarily Iran and the United States, are interested in getting to negotiations. And if this ceasefire, even fragile as it is a means to get to the negotiations, I think that's where it will hold. I think each side is going to try to, behave or change the power equation to its benefit ahead of the negotiation. We know, for example, that Iran has slowed down now traffic through the Strait of Hormuz and is basically saying to the Americans and to the Pakistanis, well, the ceasefire in Lebanon has to take place in order for us to, resume operations in the Strait, or to let operation in the Strait of Hormuz resume fully. And so, but still, when it comes down to it, I think both sides would go to negotiations. Maybe not this weekend, maybe later, but most likely they will go to negotiation. And then Lebanon is going to be on the table as part of discussions on about Iranian regional posture. And that's going to be part of the negotiation between the two sides.
All right, Randa Slim, talking to us there from the Stimson Center in Washington, D.C. Great to get your analysis. Thank you.